feels good recording, it's great, feel the rush of adrenaline
No,
when the lady says recording in progress.
no.
All right, great. Hi, and welcome to the Thinking Out Loud podcast, a show with meaningful conversations in English with non-natives. Like myself, I'm Jędrek,
I'm Masha.
and we are two English teachers who,
Respect their colleagues. Do we?
of course, absolutely, we respect our colleagues,
Well, respect, but do we
except,
ever criticize our colleagues?
it's not like we do it on air, and I don't even think that, I've got a lot of colleagues, to be honest. Let's be
You
frank, I'm
do?
I'm working, but I'm working remotely. A one-person uh, school, or simply, a freelancer, one teacher, solitary. You are the only staff room I've got.
So I
So
hope you never trash talk me outside.
no, I never do. I never do.
Okay.
And there is no reason for that. Because you only gather great feedback from our listeners. Like recently, Anya said that Masha is great because she's so easy to understand. I don't know if she was trying to say that I'm
If
not
if she
easy to
was
understand or
if
what.
she meant it as a compliment.
Yeah, I mean, she was trying to tell me something. But how about moving to the thinking out loud proper?
Proper rish. This was proper rish. Okay. Okay. Well, I have I'm never confident about my questions, but this one, it was actually born 1 hour ago.
Oh, that's great. I love fresh stuff.
Yeah,
Go on.
it's really, really fresh. I don't even know if
Hmm. I was
it's
going to
just
work.
that, I don't know if you know, but this night, apart from the night before, 3 nights before the last night, like how should I? Okay, Friday. Okay,
Oh, yeah,
three
whatever.
last
Yeah,
nights
Friday night.
doesn't
What?
matter. 3 last nights
All right.
were very, very rough for
Oh
Ukraine,
yeah, I heard about
and
it.
and and I started talking to one of my students, and I used this phrase like, "We already got used to it." And she
Hmm.
said, like, it's not something you should get used to. And I was thinking about this concept of getting used to.
Hmm.
It's definitely, and, I wouldn't like to use this phrase when it comes to, missiles, drones, and stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what is maybe the difference between getting used to something and learning to live with something? Is there even a difference? Are they different things? Because I have a problem with this getting used. I don't want to, and I don't think I did. I have gotten used to, you know,
Yeah, on the surface, it looks like getting used to is a pretty automatic uh, process. You get used to something that is, something that used to bother you no longer bothers you
well,
because you got
it
used to it.
does.
Well, it does, but I don't want to refer precisely to the war and explosions and so on. I don't know if you can ever get used to. However,
But
no, I don't know honestly.
if you travel, for example, I know that people who don't live in Ukraine and they are updated, let's say, on the situation, they see everything that's going on here through a very different lens, and their perspective is very
Absolutely.
different. They think it's like, oh my God, it's absolute hell. How can you live in a place like this? So if you, for example, came to visit, you would be, I'm telling you, you would be shocked uh, at how normal this life seems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's so difficult to explain. It looks
Except
normal.
that from time to time something explodes.
No, no, no. I mean, every day something happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But we cannot afford. We lived like a not normal life, maybe first, okay, 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then you understand that you cannot live like this any longer. Mm, you need your life to at least resemble normal life. But this is not we didn't get used to the war.
You learned to cope.
Okay, yeah. So there is a
You learned.
difference.
Because learning seems there might be automatic. I mean, because I'm thinking, if learning is a conscious process, because you're telling yourself certain things, for example, or you use certain techniques, whatever they might be,
The enemy coping
of
mechanisms.
coping. Yeah, coping mechanisms, exactly. And this way, you learn somehow to live in these conditions, because getting used to me is a pretty autonomous process. It's like, it was hard for me to get up at 5 in the morning,
Hmm.
but let's say that I got a job and that is far away, and I have to get up at 5, and after some time I got used to it, and it's no longer a problem to get up at 5. But was it honestly learning? I mean, did I learn
But
to get up
imagine a
at 5?
situation. But imagine a situation that getting up at 5 is still. I mean, let's imagine you are a night owl. Okay, you will never
Mhm.
get used to it. So you learn to cope with it. Yeah.
Yeah, for example, I take a nap in the middle of the day.
Yeah,
That would
something like
be
that.
like, coping with
Or
the
you
fact that
reward
I don't get
yourself
enough sleep.
with, I don't know, whatever, something.
Yeah, ice cream,
And
bucket of ice cream.
ooh. Uh, so you didn't get used to, so getting used to something means something is no
I know what you
longer.
mean, but is getting used to equivalent to accepting something? Because I think if you get used to something, I'm not sure it's not like you accept it. You just got used to it. You develop certain habits, right?
Hmm.
Because learning to, and they're very you know better
No, I think
perhaps than
very
I
often you
know.
uh-huh. Hmm.
No, I'm talking about that difference, between getting used to something and learning to. It's like, everything that I want to say is so small and ridiculous in comparison to getting used to living in modern day Kiev, for example.
Yeah, but looking at
Um,
something trivial may help actually understand the difference because you don't get so emotional,
all right, so look at that. Um, I came to France, and at first it was shocking that there is that, afternoon siesta, So everything's closed between 12 and 2 p.m. It's like everything's closed. So, a very good example from last weekend. I had some debris to get rid of,
Hmm.
from my garden, and so I rented a truck. I loaded that with debris, and together with our worker, we went to the dump yard, and guess what?
It
It
was
was
closed.
12. It was closed. A dump, Say, what's going on, And
The
I just, I
dump
know,
is
it
closed.
didn't even,
Sorry.
yeah, it didn't even, even though I have been living here for a good few years,
It didn't occur to you that
I
the dump may be
still
closed.
kind of, I just forgot that, even a dump will be having a lunch break, and there's like, there's a chain on the gate. It's like it's closed.
So you
So
never got used to it.
apparently I didn't get used to it, like,
And you didn't
I
even
didn't
learn to cope.
internalize that. And yeah, learning to live with that, but in that case, if you get used to it and learning to live, because learning, what can you do? Because to me, like, learning to live with something means that you have certain techniques to go around, or
Yes, 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 yes.
or to cope, basically.
Yes.
In that case, I didn't even, what would that be? Just, learning to live with it is like,
Well, you have to remember That's
You just have to
first thing.
remember, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And getting used to would actually mean that I don't even consider that part of the day to be good for doing anything, you know.
And actually, I don't
Cons
think that you will internally accept this situation.
That's yeah, but it's an issue of secondary importance, right? If I accept it or not. I mean, it's the way it
I don't
is. I
know
mean, it is
if you
the way it
haven't,
is, right?
yeah, but if you
There's nothing
haven't
to
accepted,
accept
if you
or
still have, like, how come these fuckers,
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
you, of course, it keeps bothering you all the time. It drains you of energy. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, wasn't like, it wasn't like it made me angry a lot, but it was like, oh no, I was rather angry at myself
for not
because it's like,
remembering. Yeah.
how could I forget, how could I forget that you don't do anything between 12 and 2? Simple, I mean, you can go and eat. Yes, you can eat out, sure,
Oh, you
because the
can.
restaurants are
Restaurants are
opened.
working.
Yeah, restaurants are open. However, if you're late and you arrive at 2 or 10 minutes before 2, sorry, we are not serving. So it's over, So you've got only that, little window of opportunity.
Opportunity to eat.
Yes.
Oh my.
But once again, this is an example that is very down to earth, and yeah, I didn't get used to it. Apparently, it's still, I'm still living in the world where everything's open. However, I must tell you that once I came back to Poland, and so we also had some things to do, and it was like 1 p.m. and my wife says, let's go and see the furniture or something, and I say, are you stupid? It's closed. But then, no, but we are in Poland, it's opened, it's like a perfect time for shopping, right? Yes. So that's what it is. So apparently, sometimes I remember about it, sometimes I don't, I'm getting used to it. It's not like, I got used to it, but I'm getting used to it slowly, apparently. But it's a process that is happening simply independently from me.
But getting used to it when
But
something
I guess with
stops.
learning, yeah, but Asha, with learning, you could actually speed up this process
Yeah. Mhm.
for sure. I mean, if I, got some post-it notes, or whatever, don't know how would I be coping with the fact that everything's closed between 12 and 2. But yeah, I guess I could be more effective.
But right now you're still coping with it.
I'm still
It's not,
coping,
you're
yeah.
learning, you're reminding yourself or whatever you do.
Mhm.
It's not like you're simply getting used to. Seems like you said at the beginning, seems like something automatic that happens. It happens to you.
Yeah, it happens to you, and then you just get used to it. You can get used to a lot of things, like I don't know, living nearby a busy street, maybe. Although it would be
In
very hard
Russian,
for
there
me.
is a saying, a human being, unlike a flea,
Hmm.
can get used to anything.
Ah, yeah. Which is true,
Which is
which is absolutely
true.
true. If you
Yeah.
look at, for example, the conditions people live in, yeah. We also have a nice saying in the Polish language, Uh, it's never like I don't know if I can translate it. Uh, it's never like it's anyhow. Like it's not anyhow. It's like nigdy nie jest tak, żeby jakoś nie było. It's like, it's never the situation is never so bad that that you can't get used to it. This is the way
Mm.
I would generally explain it. So no matter what it is, you will what get used to it or learn to live with it, which
Yeah,
right
but
now
I
seems
would
to me
prefer the
equivalent.
second, I don't want to get
Learn to.
used to, yeah, I don't want to, because, once,
Yeah, you're right. Getting used to is dangerous. Sometimes.
yeah,
but it could also work the other way. Imagine you're suddenly uh mm, what I'm trying to find something that is positive, because not like, because we tend to think about getting used to something negative, right?
Hmm.
But something positive
Okay, you
like
are getting used to receiving presents on every
yeah,
Sunday, and you
yeah,
get
for example,
spoiled.
you get spoiled. Yeah, you get spoiled. Yeah, this is dangerous. Can you learn to
Live
hopefully, I don't
without
know.
presents. No, it's I thought that it's dangerous in a way that you simply give up, give in. I don't know how to call it. Well, imagine everybody now in Ukraine got used to living, in this reality. It means that we would
Hmm.
stop resisting because it's already,
No,
it's
but didn't you guys actually learn, or sorry, get used to resisting? Because this is your daily bread, I guess, It is actually the
no,
resistance that is.
it's not getting used to. It's coping and
Mhm.
I mean fighting. How can you get used to fighting?
I guess you can if it lasts like, long years. You get used to it.
Well, yeah,
In
if
the
you're a child, if you were born during the war, and not like, in the rear, but,
hmm
like, I
hmm
don't know, a great war of the machines, let's say,
hmm
like John Connor.
All right.
He was actually born before. Yeah, and you don't know any other life. All you know is war. And for you,
Yeah,
it's
that the
normal
case
life.
the case of that bird,
But then you didn't even
who
have to
spent.
get used to it. It was just your, normality. Is it even a word?
Yeah, but we get used to certain things that are around us, and it
No,
doesn't
no, no.
matter
If
if
you're
we've
a
got them.
child and if you're born and in this reality, this is your normal
Yeah.
life. You don't need to get used to anything. You
Wait a
get used
second.
to
You get
something when the
used to the fact.
situation changes.
Well, right, but when you're born, everything is new, and you
I
get
mean, yeah,
used to
you get
certain things, right?
yes, 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 yeah. You get used to everything because you were in the womb and now you are in you know,
Yeah, you get used to stuff for sure,
breathing
and
air and
and I don't know if it's like that with every kid, but they are very attached to their habits. It's like it's very hard to, for example, teach a child or unteach the child, for example, to stop using their
certain
pacifier.
routines. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because he got used to it. I'm going to sleep and I'm using a pacifier. Can't imagine otherwise. Can't imagine falling asleep
Yeah, you see why
without it.
it's dangerous. If you get used to it, you think that things are going to be like this forever and you
Yeah,
accept it.
yeah,
But when you
yeah.
learn to cope, you understand that I need to cope. Situation is temporary. I need to cope. I developed certain
Mm-hmm,
mechanisms.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Once the danger is no longer there, once the situation changes, I can,
mm-hmm.
I mean, dismiss all these learning mechanisms will become rudimentary, let's say.
Yeah, except it sounds to me like it's easier said than done. It's not like you can separate these two processes, like getting used to and learning to cope,
Oh, it's a
because
process here. You tell your
once it settles
psyche that
down, it,
it
it
was
becomes a
useful for
routine.
us. Yeah, it was useful
Hmm.
for us while
Hmm.
we were coping. It's like this childhood trauma. That's the things, the
Hmm.
habits you develop when you were a child
Hmm.
to protect yourself because this is the only way you knew how. But when you're an
Hmm.
adult, you don't need these things anymore, and you need to
Hmm.
gradually teach
Hmm.
yourself,
Hmm.
different
Hmm.
types of behaviors. But I
Yes.
mean, this is a very, to me, like you have the authority. It's a very active process, but getting used to is just something that happens to you. That's why I have, this, I don't like this phrase when it comes to, war
So
and
at the end, it's what I wanted to say, that getting used to is pretty automatic. It happens to you, to your body, to your life,
psyche.
and learning. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And learning is something that is more active. I mean, it needs your action, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
And I hope
and
that later on you can unlearn these things
yeah,
when they are no longer
yeah.
necessary,
Yeah,
because they
if
may
they
be
don't
unhealthy
get,
in a different situation,
yes,
like this PTSD, yeah, thing.
yeah, yeah. But I'm thinking about also another very mundane situation, like if there are some road works, let's say they repair a bridge or something that takes time, then there's a detour, and sometimes you get used to that detour, or I don't want to say no, you don't get used to, actually. You learn how to go around this, problematic
Yeah,
area
but then you develop a
of the
habit. It,
town.
it becomes automatic. That's the
Yeah,
point.
but once they repaired and reopened the bridge, it's like you don't even think about going back, because it's so much easier and faster,
Not maybe easy,
So
faster and easier, but it's automatic.
no, no, but you know what I mean. Like, let's say that they keep repairing the bridge, for, I don't know, for 2 years, 3 years, whatever.
Hmm. In
And
France, in Ukraine as well.
and 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 one day they reopen that bridge.
But you automatically go
Are you still going to be?
taking the
Well, you
detour
may, that
for a
would
couple
actually
of
mean that
days.
you got used to it. Yeah, I remember when it was not about the bridge, but they basically turned one street that was just a one-way street, changed its profile, let's say, into a two-way street,
Uh,
which simplified
w-
a lot, you know. But the point is that
it took
for
some
some
time.
time at least, I was not even considering that I can go this way using this street, because I always, my in my mind was like, oh, this is a one-way street, I can't go that way. But once, I somehow, internalized that, this is a new reality. Yeah, but with that bridge, once again, you may have this reflex, you go the other way. I mean, you take that detour again, but then, you can unlearn it, because you know that this way is faster, is easier, is better. Yeah.
When you were talking about this one-way street and a two-way street, my thoughts went in a totally different direction. It's like how
Are you?
dangerous it is right now, because I keep thinking
Mhm.
that the traffic is only this way, and now I have the incoming traffic
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course,
coming
of
towards
course. I
me.
mean, that is also the case if you've been driving
Yeah.
for a long, long time on the highway, and suddenly, you leave the highway, and you drive the ordinary state road or whatever. It's really dangerous. First, the speed, you got used to higher speed, and second, of course, overtaking cars and so on is not that easy, because you've got cars approaching from the opposite direction, right? Something that is not there if you're driving on a highway. But then
I was
again, I
all
guess that, several hours on a highway, and you get used to the fact that, you've got two lanes or three or four,
depends
and
on the highway.
and
My highway to my it's actually Warsaw highway, Kiev Warsaw.
oh yeah,
I
I know,
take
I know.
it I take it when I go to my summer house, and it's not that you have two lanes in one direction. No,
So
you
what
only
is
have
it?
one.
One lane, but the lanes are separated, right?
Not by anything hard.
Oh,
It's
all
just a
right.
marking.
Just a marking, so it's not separated, because I thought that there's some kind of a
No,
no.
no, 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 no,
There's no grass between the lanes, nothing.
no. But
Oh,
how
all
can
right.
you?
So
I
it's
mean,
like,
if you it's only one lane, I have to overtake. If
hmm
you install something there, how will I overtake?
but yeah, but there are a highway. The definition. I mean, I don't know your
Yeah,
definition,
the
but a highway
in
to be a
Ukraine
highway,
it differs. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
for the
yeah. It
highway to be a
needs
highway, it
two
needs two
lanes,
lanes. Yes,
and two lanes each way,
yes.
separated, so that you can't. I mean, there are
Yeah,
some
I
places
understand.
where it's doable,
But
but
it's
yeah.
still called a highway, Kiev Warsaw
Let's call
Highway.
it highway. All right. All right.
At
It's
least
kind
in
of
Ukraine.
exaggerated. It's kind of exaggerated, right? Because it's
Okay, okay,
for
okay.
that to be a proper highway, you need two lanes, and so that it's safe. I mean, it's not like highways are safe, because you can still get a really
Yeah,
nasty
yeah,
nasty
I was
car
going,
accident.
I was taking
Someone
a
bumps you
different
in the back.
proper highway,
Hmm.
a couple of weekends back. And I was amazed, like because I'm used to this Kiev Warsaw, let's say, highway with only one lane, and I have to be careful when I overtake. But this, when I took this proper highway with two lanes, and I was thinking, wow, this is paradise.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
still, there were so many car accidents, and I was thinking, like, how people, what is wrong
yeah,
with
yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's enough, that you get distracted or I know fall asleep for a second, and
But on the
you
other
hit
hand, yeah,
another
you
car.
you you go faster because you think, it's a highway, proper highway. I'll go
Yeah, yeah,
faster.
yeah,
And
yeah. That's a kind of an illusion of safety, right?
illusion, yeah, yeah.
Yes. All right, great, great. Masha, thanks a lot for that fresh question. There's a shade of difference between getting used to something, learning to live with that thing. Um, yeah.
So shall we?
Yeah, let's ask AI
Interesting.
exactly. Let's
Will there be a
let's
question when
see.
I say there is no difference? I wonder.
No, but I mean it cannot. I guess it's even programmed like that. It cannot tell you that there's a difference. Especially that there is a
Really?
difference. I mean, unless we ask, what's the difference between despite and in spite of? But even
Uh,
that, I guess.
ooh, these phrases describe different aspects of adaptation, but they have
Mhm.
distinct meanings. Getting used to, first, process, gradual habituation or familiarization. While learning
All
to
right.
cope, process is actively developing strategies and skills to manage
Yeah, actively.
challenges.
Yeah, active. All
Actively.
right. All right.
Focus. Getting used to becoming comfortable with something through repeated exposure, while learning to cope, finding ways to handle or deal with difficult situations effectively.
I got lost in that. What?
Becoming comfortable, getting used to, your focus is on
Getting used to
becoming
be
comfortable
comfort.
through repeated
Yeah, yeah.
exposure.
Mm-hmm.
But here you still find ways to handle or deal with, so cope. Emotional
I like that.
aspects. Getting used to often involves reducing discomfort or stress about a situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can reduce my level of stress when these drones are. Okay. Emotional aspects of learning to cope,
But you can get used to something.
developing resilience and management techniques. I like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Getting used to passivity, more passive process. You naturally adjust over time while learning to cope.
That's what I said.
Activity, it's
That's what I said.
activity.
That's what I said. Passive,
Okay,
active.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah, 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 yeah. More
all
active
right,
process. You
Claude.
consciously develop coping mechanisms. Examples: getting used to a new job, getting used to living in a new city, getting used to noise, learning to cope. Examples: learning to cope with stress.
Please be so kind, Masha, and ask Claude if it's possible to get used to something extremely negative.
Wait a second. Listen to this. Examples of
Mm.
learning to cope. Learning to cope with stress. You can't
Hmm.
get used to stress. You can only
You
learn to
can't
cope.
get used
Yes.
to stress.
Learning
So,
to
so it
cope
answers my
with
question, sort of.
learning to
It sort of
cope
answers
with
my question.
loss. You can't get used to it. You just need to learn to cope. Learning to cope with a chronic illness. The same about war. You can't get used to it. The
Because
only thing
you can
yes,
become comfortable with it, right?
you
You can
can't
become
become
comfortable with it.
comfortable with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is stuff. Yeah. So definitely there is stuff that you can't get used to. And I would say that all the really negative stuff is something you will never get used to because your body will always rebel, will always react negatively, either through stress or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, but you can learn to cope, learn to live with that.
Timeline.
Yeah,
Getting
that makes
used to
sense.
something suggests that difficulty will eventually fade. The difficulty. Because, for example, getting used to
Hmm. Hmm.
driving,
Getting up at five.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it stops being difficult. While learning to
Hmm.
cope acknowledges that the challenge may persist, but you can manage it better. So it's again focus on, you and how you deal with it.
Hmm.
And learning to cope requires
So,
conscious
so,
effort.
so,
So
getting back to Kiev
what
and
did you
its
want me to ask?
citizens. No, no, it was already answered
Okay,
because my
okay.
question was, could you get used to something very very negative? But I think we already get the answer.
Yeah,
No, the answer is
no,
no,
you can't.
because you can't become comfortable with negative stuff, right? That's why, like you said, and Claude said that you can't get used to stress. You can only
But what if you
learn to
become
cope
so
with it.
numb
Yeah, if you get
that
drunk,
you become yeah, you become
you are
comfortable with it.
comfortable with even,
Anything.
anything.
Sleeping
Yeah.
in the, whatever. Let's not use bad language.
All right. Great. What about the citizens of Kiev? They learn to cope. It's very hard to get comfortable with the
Yeah.
situation that drones
Mhm.
are hovering over your head,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
All
not
right,
going to
great,
use
great.
I'm not going to use this phrase anymore. I don't like it. I mean,
You
when
don't
it
get too
comes to
used to.
war.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's simply improper,
Now I understand.
imprecise.
Thank you. Thinking out loud. Thank you, this
All
podcast. It
right.
helps
All right,
you,
great.
to get things right, exactly right. Because, well, I mean, what is the difference? They're pretty much the same things. But no,
Yeah, we could even
I
say that
definitely
it's the
choose
same,
this.
yeah, yeah.
I hope this day
Yeah,
will
that's
come. The
why.
episode will be like 10 minutes long. You'll say, Masha, there is no difference. That's it. Matters closed.
Oh no, you'll never hear that from my mouth,
Oh, come on. When I
especially
ask you what's the
knowing
difference
that.
between despite and in spite of?
But I would add it
Ah,
honestly, there
you
must be
can
a
stretch
difference,
it for a little bit.
There are no 100% synonyms in language, Forget about it.
Okay.
Great. Uh, how about we wrap up this episode with reminding people about several links to click? Masha, do you know any interesting link that comes from us?
I don't want to remind people about links to click. I want to remind people that they can experience something like what we did right now by, understanding things better. And they can do it by either becoming our students, because we are, after all, two English teachers who do this and that and
Mm-hmm.
that. God knows what. Only not.
Or
Or
asking
uh
Clody. Wouldn't they actually understand stuff if they ask Clody immediately? Like, Clody, what's the difference between getting used to and
where is fun it's in that?
exactly, there's no fun,
The other one more thing I wanted to eat. Today I read in the news that in China they have now massage salons, not saloons, thank God for
All right.
uh, uh, where all the massage therapists are robots. You know that you have this robotic
Oh,
hand and it massages you.
are they any good?
I don't know. I just look at the picture, there is a person lying in this, robotic hand massages him. And I was thinking, would I want that? And I'm super uncomfortable having a massage,
Hmm.
super uncomfortable with another human being, touching me for 1 hour. I mean, it's
Hmm.
therapeutic, it's good for my body, but I mean, there are people like me who don't particularly enjoy it. But
Hmm.
but still, I would want it to be a human being. And I started asking myself, why? I can imagine,
But I
okay, I
don't.
go into the room, there is like this, some kind of a hand, there is somewhere an
I gotta Google
operator.
this. I gotta Google this.
I'll send it to you. And I just lie and what is, kneading my muscles. I don't know. I don't even know how I feel about it. I feel not good, but I can't put my finger on it. Especially,
Everything depends on
because
how skillful these machines are at massaging, because
no,
if because that is a huge challenge. I think it's also part of some kind of Chinese propaganda, that look, we've got machines that have the
okay, you're already
skills equivalent
bringing
to
so
human.
much stuff here, Chinese propaganda and, skill. I'm not even talking about
'Cause every
this.
time I read
Just a
something about
mere,
China, it's like, they're boasting, like, look, guys, what technology we have.
can we go back to, okay, just let me put it very simply. Would you prefer to be massaged by a human being or a machine?
A human being, 100%.
Why?
Um, if it's a sexy lady, then it's
Oh, come
obvious
on.
why.
Okay,
But
okay.
if it's a guy, then I actually prefer if it's a guy, honestly, because ladies are not so strong, you know. I like the massage to be, you know, to be strong.
Yeah,
You need
otherwise, what's the
really you,
point, you know?
yeah, what's the point, you know? Exactly.
You have
So
your wife or
so
other things. Yes.
exactly. Exactly. So yeah, if there's someone who's knowledgeable about that and strong enough, you know, to do the massage properly, that's
So
perfect, you
what if
know.
machine is knowledgeable and strong enough? Would you still
Well,
prefer a human?
and if it's good, I mean, if it's you know, not hurting you
Not
or
hurting you, no.
then I guess it's, I mean, if I know I'd have to test it. I'm not saying like you know, I'm not saying that I would never like to try a
I don't even
machine.
have to, I don't even want to test it, you know, it's something else. It's just, I'm looking at this, looks like a
I know
factory.
what it is the human
And I
touch.
will be just a piece of meat.
And you're not a piece of meat if you go to a human
I want to
massage parlor.
believe that I'm not, that's the thing. At least I have a hope, but here I don't have any hope. This machine doesn't give a damn.
But you are not there. I mean, we are talking about
Okay, let's reverse the situation. So you want to become a massage therapist. Why? Hopefully you want to, help people.
mhm,
You get some reward from doing this, not well, not
mhm,
only money.
mhm.
So this is what I'm talking about. I'm interacting with another human being who is getting something out of it. It's not only transactional, it's not
Yeah,
only about money.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. What you basically mean is context. Because imagine that we create that arm, just arm, not even, you know, not even
Not even
a
bother
robot that
with
even
the
looks
rest. Yeah.
like a human, yeah. And that arm is doing whatever. I think it's basically lacking context, and it's quite hard for us humans to get used to this kind of thing, you know, that you know there's suddenly an arm that is okay, it's doing its job, it's even quite efficient, but we need context, you know, we need that kind of holistic thing, you
We
know.
need at least an illusion that somebody cares about us. I mean, maybe in 90% of the situations it's not true, but at least I have a hope.
Hmm.
I don't know why it
Yeah,
matters,
yeah,
but
but
it
no, Masha,
does.
it's not even it's I tell you it's I'm maybe oversimplifying, but it's about context. It's about you know, not just you know, focusing very narrowly at my muscles that need
Needing.
some yeah, that are need, yeah, but this is, you know, just this is just taking one narrow thing out of a much broader context, you know. It's the same. I mean, we could list a lot of things. Unfortunately, this is where world is going, because world is getting decontextualized for sure. You know, there's no doubt about it, because you know everything is like, you know, it's almost a subject for a separate podcast. You know, but
Now I understand the comment the student gave that it's easier to understand me, not you. Because I say care and you say context. What does it even mean?
well, it means that we are, you know, human beings. We live in a wider context, not just in you know. Ah, don't
You
get me
see?
started, you know. No,
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I'm actually, no, it's actually connected with what I'm reading now, and I'm reading about the brain, you know. And you know
What
that
else
old
would you be
school.
reading? Yeah,
Oh
okay.
yeah, exactly. You know, a brainiac like myself
Mhm.
reading about brain. But you know, there are two hemispheres, and lots of theories about what sort of things are they doing, right? And there's a lot
Revolutionary.
of, yeah, yeah. But wait for it, wait for it. uh, and it looks like, it looks like, because it used to be believed that um, language is located in the left hemisphere. Right hemisphere is pretty passive. God only knows what it's doing, right?
Getting used
But
to
it turns out that language is actually in both. And the people who get their left hemisphere damaged, they still retain language in a certain way, they may not be able to speak, but maybe they could write, maybe they could still, communicate in language. And the point is that the left hemisphere decontextualizes stuff, language like concepts, like tiny little words. Language thinks that it can trap reality into these, nice concepts packages. But we know very well, and this show is a living proof that these concepts, they kind of, the more you think about it, they extend beyond the words, like they're it's never like a definition. Why don't we actually ask each other questions and then open the dictionary and check, okay, it's this, okay, it's this, and finish, and the show is over. No, the show is not over, because we go to the right hemisphere. Actually, we activate our right hemisphere, we search for broader context, we try to situate that, we visit highways, we visit cities, we talk about dumpsters, and so on, just because we want to situate that in a context. And every time it has a different shade, every time it has a different taste, and we are absolutely activating the right hemisphere according to what I'm reading about. And we are not satisfied with a very dry definition, of something. And that's why when you say that that arm massaging your back is not enough, it's because you are still not so much transformed by reality, by the dominating left hemisphere. You also need the context to feel good.
You
It's not
mean
like
that massage is much more than simply massage?
Definitely, definitely. And the same, like, you could, if you care about eating bread, but you don't care who made it, you don't care what does it come from, the bread is bread, it came from a machine. But if you activate the right hemisphere, you know that you want the bread that was made locally from, I don't know, good ingredients, and there was some hard work put into it by the baker who didn't sleep at night. Even though at the end of the day, the left hemisphere may say, but this is bread and this is bread, and this one is even cheaper. So, but we are not like that. We want to have the context. I want to have something that is located somewhere, and not
Story.
just, a story. Yeah, a story, a context, a story. Yes, absolutely. And I think it partially explains why you're not okay with that hand. However, if it was all about, just getting a massage,
Yeah,
who
I
knows?
know.
Maybe that arm, that artificial arm, is actually pretty good. It's just,
I'm sure it
in
can be
language, it's
even
the same.
better than a human being at some point because, it never gets tired and, and it
Absolutely.
can perfect the technique to, the level unimaginable.
Absolutely. And it's also the thing in language, for example. You've got people who are extremely good in terms of vocab and so on. But language is not just vocabulary, it's not just there's more to it, right? To communication than just using words. And that thing is the context. It's something wider. It's quite hard to pin down, but definitely. It's not just being an expert. It's very cold and God only knows what, the human touch,
Which is impossible to sell.
which
Coming
is very hard
back
to sell. I mean,
to the lady on Instagram.
yeah, yeah, exactly. All
God
right,
bless her.
great. Masha, thanks a lot for this meeting. Thanks a lot for this conversation. It was great. I want to thank everybody who has been with us. And
All these years.
it's over to you.
So this was another episode of the Thinking Out Loud podcast. Thanks everyone for listening. All the links are in the description. We love coffee. See you next time. Bye.
Bye bye.